you an expert, entrepreneur, or small business owner passionate about helping people through life's transitions? The Fresh Starts Expert membership is perfect for you. For just $55 per month, this dynamic membership is designed to boost your business and amplify your brand. Fresh Starts is here to provide you with business development, marketing, coaching, networking, publicity, community engagement, and more. With an SEO-optimized profile, exclusive press opportunities, and weekly co-working and business coaching sessions, you'll connect, grow, and gain visibility like never before. Are you ready to elevate your brand? We can't wait to work with you. Visit freshstartsregistry.com and become a Fresh Starts expert today.
Welcome back to A Fresh Story, the podcast where we have conversations about brave decisions to start over again. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jenny. And we're so glad you're here today.
So we're super excited today to have a repeat customer here at Fresh Starts with Miss Skyler Day. And the way that we've been kicking off this sibling season is by doing something a little bit fun. We're going to have you guys introduce each other. So
Ooh.
Skyler,
Okay.
well, let's back up for a second. You're twins, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who is technically older?
2 minutes.
Every time.
Okay.
Every time this comes up.
I knew it.
I was like,
So-
get down. I'm coming out
Big
first.
older sister energy.
Big
Yeah.
sister energy. Yeah. So Skyler, if you wouldn't mind, can you introduce us to your brother Dalton?
Okay. Yes. Dalton Day is, well, first and foremost, my twin and a badass musician, guitarist, singer-songwriter, woodworker, man of the woods, I like to say. But just
Man
awesome
of the
to me,
woods.
like man of the wood. I mean, you spend a lot of time in the
I do.
the
Yeah, I do.
nature. Yeah.
We can get to that.
But yeah.
We'll talk about it.
But yeah, no, he's just the greatest human on the planet.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and Dalton, your turn. Who is Skyler?
Who's Skyler? All right. Skyler Day is my amazing twin sister. She's an actor, singer, songwriter, writer in general, and one of my heroes, genuinely. And she has, anything she touches, she will always work harder than anybody else I've ever seen. So she's definitely, she's a badass.
Yeah. Yeah, we got that energy from her for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's pretty clear.
So
I feel like everybody
Skyler,
does.
it's
Yeah.
so clear. It's so clear.
Very
She's a badass. Skyler, what is something that Dalton is really good at?
Guitar. It's funny. We both picked up guitar at 14. I'm saying it as a question because I'm like, yeah, 14.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of picked it up and was just doodling around so that I could learn how to write. Dalton became like freaking like Hendrix. Like he can do things on the guitar that like my brain cannot comprehend. He tries to teach me things sometimes and I'm like, but I don't understand though. We've been playing since we were 14. So I've had plenty of time to learn. But yeah, his creativity with the guitar is just mind blowing.
I will say to your credit, Skyler, you're much more receptive.
Lately I've gotten better. Thanks.
Yeah. You're much more receptive. So credit.
It's hard to be a big sister and learn things from you.
I'm sure it is for you. Do you guys have similar musical tastes? Like, did you, when you were 14 and you started playing guitar, were you listening to the same music? Like,
No, not back then. Not at all.
okay.
I was
Say
like,
more.
it was all metal, like heavy metal and like punk music. And I had to go through all the genres of music, I feel like. So I went through like punk, heavy metal, Metallica, classic rock, Jimi Hendrix, like she said, blues. And then finally I kind of settled on folk. And it just like, as I got older, I got more calm, I guess. But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like folk is you need to try all those other ones before you can hit folk, right? Because you gotta like you gotta like, get that to
you gotta
that
have somewhere
level.
to
So
go, you know?
exactly. So Dalton, what is something that Skyler is really good at?
Well, I think I was kind of thinking about that question and I wanted to like talk about it more as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody as goal driven. So whenever she picks something to do, and this is something I'm actually really jealous of because I'm a bit of a space cadet with the world. I'm like, oh, wow. I get very distracted very easily with a bunch of different things. Something about her that she's always been amazing at is when she wants something and when she goes for something, nothing can get in her way. She's so clear and it's so concise about what she wants to do and how she wants to do it that anytime she does anything, it ends up working in her favor. And people kind of see her and just like she's just got endless amounts of energy for those kind of things. So I think again, that's something that I really admire about her. So
Shucks, brah.
I love that. I love that. So
yeah.
I love that. So one of the I guess issues I will say, I use that word jokingly, that Jenny and I encounter with being two creative people, right? We both love to write and create and art and all these things. But the problem is when we're together, we never stop iterating, right? There's always like a new idea or a new thing. Do you both have that? And I would love also if you want to kind of tell us a little bit about your history of music together, right? Because you're both musicians and writers and all of the great things independently, but there's also that space together that you have, that bond.
Yeah.
So I would love to dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, when we
For
were, like I said, when we were 14, we both picked up guitar. That's really when we started both like getting super heavy into music. I started writing, like I say writing in quotes, at like 10, but that was like, you know, writing a song for my grandparents and like that type of thing. But I think once we both picked up guitar, it was like, oh, this is something we're both super interested in. And I'm like, I feel really lucky that he is also so interested in it because it's like we can share that. And also when I'm, you know, in the greenhouse in my studio and producing, I'll call him and be like, hey, is this stupid? Like, can you listen to this? Just to make sure that this isn't dumb.
Yeah.
Or like give me your opinion. I trust his opinion. But I think growing up, we tried to do like the, you know, like a duo thing. We called ourselves the Day.
Yeah.
Our last name.
The
Very
Days.
creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good last name for it.
No, I mean, yeah. But we just didn't have the same taste. And so it just didn't end up becoming like we were both, it's like we were two pilots trying to fly into two different destinations.
Yep.
But what was amazing is like we also have that musical bond. So even though we're not making music together as much, like we'll write together sometimes and it's just fun. We just like it. But it's kind of nice that we don't have to turn it into this like business, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Dalton,
Can I add
what
a
about
little
you?
bit to that
Yeah,
too?
I want to hear her opinion here.
Well, I think lately too, it's been such an interesting progression. Like, and in the beginning, again, we listened to a lot of different stuff and we had different goals. So we were kind of like wrestling with that a little bit back then. But as we've gotten older and kind of figured out our own paths, it's allowed us to have a different perspective, but the same goal. And which is just to make music and make art, and that's it. And no expectation other than that. And, everything I need is in Skyler, and everything I feel like I can offer helps her when she's having a moment of just like, what is this? Like, what am I making? And I'm like, dude, it's already made. You just have to like put it together, you know? And I think my skill set and her skill set really complement each other. So that's something that I feel like I'm learning a lot about writing and how to kind of create a story within a song and everything from her. And hopefully the music and the guitar is helping her kind of create the structure of the song. And she's got the writing on lock. Everything about the writing is done. It's great. But yeah.
I love that. I think the best relationships of any capacity are complementary. And I was just talking about this with somebody. She was talking about human design and how you should look at your chart with somebody else and like transparently and see where they like literally complement each other. And I think that is something Olivia and I definitely do with each other. And I think it's really cool to see that in a creative musical way, because that is not something Olivia and I possess. So it's fascinating to me to watch, like to hear about that.
No. So in terms of siblings, like the sibling dynamic obviously is fascinating, right? So in terms of siblings, would you say that one of you is more grounded and one of you is more like, and I ask this because there was a tweet the other day that said when you have two co-founders, one is usually delusional and one is usually based in reality. I'm delusional and Jenny's based in reality. As sisters, we've always been the same way. I come up with the ideas and she's like, this cannot happen, or let's see if we can make this happen. So how does that break down for the two of you? Is that true for the two of you?
Delusion. I live in delusion. Yeah. I love delusion.
Me too, Dalton. Me too.
I wouldn't call you delusional, but I would say I'm much more of like I'm a planner. I want to get the things. I'm very realistic about the
planner.
things.
Yeah. Like I love. Yeah.
It's
true.
I'm just
true.
More, I'm this, and Dalton's a little more flexible is not the right word, but like kind of like I'm making like
ethereal.
My head's in the
ethereal.
It's a podcast,
right? I forgot it's a podcast. I'm like movements over here.
I'm making like jellyfish. Jellyfish dance. He's like a little more loosey goosey with that stuff, which again is like what kind of complements each other. Because I can be like a dog with a. Can we swear on this account?
Of course, always.
Like a dog with a fucking bone. So I'm, if I want something done, I need it done, and I need it done now. And then he could be more like, it's cool, it'll come to us. I'm like, but can't it come to us at 9:05 on this day?
I need it yesterday. So
And how does that make you feel, Skyler? Does it help when he says things like that?
Yeah, I think what's funny is like, I think in a lot of ways, he's more grounded in the sense that he can bring me, or at least maybe we, are that for each other.
Ground each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I'll go into so when I did my last EP, when I was like teaching myself how to produce, I would call him all the time and be like, I don't know, what am I doing? And blah, 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 blah. And he would be like, hey, you're making music. And I'd be like, oh my God, you're right. Like, that's freaking cool. And I need to remember that. But in that way, like, we're really supportive with each other. Or if he's beating himself up over, whatever, I can be like, hey, brah, you're doing great. Like, I think we become that for each other. We like fill that space if one of us is, losing our minds.
Olivia and I always say that too. We have like different days that we're allowed to lose our minds. And I'm like, it's very...
You plan for it? I love it.
Yeah. Well, it just works out that way.
It happens.
To be honest. And occasionally it doesn't work out that way exactly. And I'm like, I can like, well, her mental breakdown is bigger than mine right now. So I just have to pretend mine's not happening. And so last week she was having some stuff going on and I was like, I'm just so happy that I'm in a solid, stable place right now that I can just take it. Like I can just accept all of your anxiety and just let you know that it's not real. But I think that that's really important. Is it just the two of you or are there more siblings? Day siblings?
We have an older sister.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 2.5 years older. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So I was going to say, so you mentioned how you guys talk on the phone a lot. So can you take us back? Like you obviously grew up in the same household, right? So when was it like, did you both go to different schools? Did you go when did you kind of separate? And what was that like to go off on your own journeys as twins?
Well, when we were both homeschooled for a short time. We were in school and then we were both homeschooled for a short time together. And then you went to school when did you go?
Like 8th grade or something like that?
I don't know. I didn't go to school.
Yeah, right. Seriously. No, we were 2nd grade to 7th grade. I believe we did homeschool. And then 8th grade, I went to public school, which was shocking. That was a big culture shock, but Yeah.
Yeah.
My
So
husband did the same
that.
thing, and it was a
Oh,
lot
really?
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also a
Yeah.
musician. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if that like leads you down that path or something.
Why?
But
Yeah. What is
I
it?
don't
Yeah.
Yeah.
know.
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
But
Yeah. It was.
once you went to school, and then I
Mhm.
mean, granted, I mean, we're obviously still living in the same house, but he was having different experiences.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to like living vicariously through him. I was I was like working. I was on set. I was
Right.
auditioning, so I wasn't in school by my own choice. I was like, again, dog with a bone. I was like, I need to do this. I can do schoolwork when I have the time, and I will do it that way. It'll like fit in. It'll fit into my life. It won't be like my main thing. And for whatever reason, my parents were like, cool, sounds good. And then, but Dalton like took me to his prom. Like he allowed me to like come and experience things that I wasn't going to, you know.
Well, that's so interesting though, because I want to just like, because I mean, Skyler's been on the podcast before, and you're a well-known actress and singer-songwriter and person in the world, and so I think that it's interesting to hear that perspective. It's like you were a working actress and doing all these things, but actually you really wanted to be kind of like getting Dalton's experience, which was like being a kid at public school, right? So I'm curious. So what was that like, Dalton, for you to go into this whole new world? And that's a huge my sons are 10 and 7, so we're entering that elementary school world, and they go to a Montessori school, and then they're going to have to go to public school, and I'm already like, oh my God, that's going to be a huge shift for them. So what was that like for you to go from homeschooling to public school without your other half, I'll say?
Sure. I'm an introvert by nature, so I think homeschool was like great. I don't have to worry about social interactions, nothing. And Skylar's the more social one, so we kind of, again, another balanced conversation. So public school was very difficult for me in the beginning, just because I had no idea how to communicate with people, and I was very quiet. But as I got kind of into it, I think as a kid and as siblings, like you end up being kind of at odds a lot of times. And back then, I feel like we all just we didn't spend enough time with each other to be able to kind of relate and understand each other. Like you, me, and Savannah, like we would fight a good amount. You know, we had a good, decent amount of fights. But I want to say though, as we've gotten older, it's been so interesting how relationships are like evolving in that way.
Yeah.
And so like I think in high school, you're all insecure and you're all like, what the heck's going on? Like it's a crazy experience, especially for me. I was just so lost, and I was like, I found my people eventually, but it was definitely a tough experience going from homeschool to public school in a different state as well. Cause we were in Georgia at that point when we did homeschool, and then we all moved to California, and then I went into public school. So I couldn't recognize any of the people. It was quite an interesting experience. So.
Wow.
Culture shock.
I have a question for you, Dalton. So I'm the oldest, and then Jenny, and then we have a brother and a half sister. And our brother always kind of, I don't know, he credits a lot of what his lived experience for having two sisters. How do you feel like having two sisters informed your masculinity and your music and your kind of the way that you walk as a man, I would say, through the world?
100%. This comes up all the time too, because I have a couple of different friends that grew up with only sisters and a couple that only grew up with brothers. And obviously, when you're a sister and you don't have a sister, you want a sister. Same thing with a brother. You know, I've always wanted a brother, but at the same time, as I've gotten older, it's changed the way that I look at everything. And I feel like I have honestly better relationships with women than I do with men, just because I've had more time and I understand a little bit better of, I guess, growing up with Skyler and Savannah and my mom. It just changed the way that I looked at everything. And it's not really a conversation of negative or positive. It's just your experience, right? So my experience back then has just informed my way of like how I communicate with my like girl friends and like my male friends. It's just a lot of them, strangely, a lot of my friends that are male they only have sisters. So I don't know if we just naturally gravitate towards each other because of our mutual experience, but possibly, I'm not sure.
You're also like super sensitive and empathetic and like, I don't know.
But
I
I
feel
wonder
like
if that's because I grew up around like you guys. You know what I mean?
like
I
locked
always
out emotional beings.
no.
We were like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
like I gotta take this. Yeah.
I think
Well,
there's a
instead of
nurture and nature element to all of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. That is an interesting thing. The jury's still out on that. Yeah.
Now, is your other sister, would you say, well, Skyler, would you call yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an extrovert, absolutely an extrovert, but I need my like
Yeah.
alone
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I get drained, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
I have to have my alone time. I'm very I just need my alone time. So I'm an extrovert who like puts everything out and then I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta go and recharge
Yeah.
on my own. But definitely an extrovert.
And what about your other sister? What would you say she is?
She's an interesting case. She's like an extrovert, but
Yeah.
I don't know. She's a blend.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a blend. She might be like a little more. I feel like once you get to know her, she's absolutely an extrovert,
Right.
and she's like
big time.
awesome and crazy and loud and fun. But when you first meet her, I feel like she's a little more like reserved and introverted.
Now, is she in music also? Did she go into arts?
No. She's she actually went to school for exotic animal training and management. So she went and like was working with, I don't know, name all the animals, like hyenas and exotic birds, and like she went and did this, and now she lives in Washington State, and yeah, she's like an animal lover.
And Skyler, you're in LA. Dalton, where are you?
I'm in LA as well. Yeah.
You're in LA as well. How often do you guys? Yeah, no, go.
Oh, so I'm a van lifer. So I built out a camper van during COVID, and so I kind of move around a little bit. But yeah,
nice.
Yeah, go on.
You know what I was gonna ask.
How
often do you guys see each other?
often do we?
Yeah.
All the
time.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's actually weird
cool.
that we are not here together right now.
I know. Yeah.
We were gonna do this together, and then it just didn't work out together. But yeah, we see each other all the time.
That's nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so continuing with our questions, Skyler, what is something that Dalton has gone through that you were really proud of him about?
Well, for one, like he mentioned, the van life thing. He took a Sprinter van that was completely empty and built it out, a kitchen, a bathroom, I don't even know how you say it. It's like a desk with like a Murphy bed situation, and then just seeing him put that together was so cool. I mean, that was just so fascinating, and the work that he put into that, because that was a lot of work to do. That's been really, really cool. But yeah, also he had
Thanks, Bob.
He had a huge accident when he was 14?
Yeah, 14. Yep.
He had like a skateboarding accident that just about killed him. And then when he came out of that, that's when he picked up guitar, because he was a competitive gymnast at the time. And then that took him out of gymnastics and kind of like threw his world into like it just turned his world upside down. And then he came out of it and found music, and then I don't know, just like went crazy with that. So that seeing him come out of that and then come out of it finding this thing that he loves out of this horrible experience was, I think I'm very, very proud of him because of that too.
What was that like? What was that like for you, Skyler, when he was hurt?
Oh God, it was awful. I also, it's funny, speaking of my sister, when things like that happen, goes like very intense. And then I go the opposite. I'm like, okay, and now we are going to figure out what to do and how to feel until, you know what I mean? I go very like uber calm. But yeah, that was scary. It was a scary time. He was in the hospital. Well, you were like in and out of the hospital for a bit, but there was a time when I was having to make like calls to my family while my parents were with him at the hospital to be like, hey, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Wow.
Which was so intense, especially like at that age. It was like, what the fuck? But yeah, he came out of it. So, but man,
How
Still
was
here.
that? Yeah, Dalton, how was that to lose like your paths that you were on too?
Obviously it's identity, right? Like that
Yeah.
thing for the longest time, I was focused on being that, and that was the only thing I knew how to do and how to explain myself to others, right?
Mhm.
So, it's definitely like a shock, but I think throughout my life after the fact, I think identity is something that I like look at now as it's not as serious as it needs to be. Like I feel like taking yourself less seriously
Yeah.
within the context of that is a gift, and it really calms everything down. It takes the pressure off you, and I think that's something that I'm really looking at as a philosophy now, so that like
Mhm.
you're a lot of different things in your life, and it's okay to like not, sometimes like I took a break from music a little while, and I felt guilty because it was always my identity, and it was like, no, sometimes you need a break, and that's all right.
Yeah.
And then you get back to it, and you always find your way back to it. So yeah.
Yeah. So how did you, Dalton, get into the woodworking that Skyler was talking about before and all of that? Like, how did you know how to like do anything with the van? 'Cause not many people would.
Oh man, I didn't know how to do anything. And I think something to her credit, I'm so like free. Like I love ideas and I start 1,000 things at once and I never finish any of them. So I think this
that's
fan,
not true. You finished stuff.
well, I finished them. Yeah, I finished stuff, but I love starting new things all the time. The van, I didn't know how to do any woodwork or any electrical or any plumbing or anything like that when I started the van. Woodworking slightly, I had some experience with, but I just like music. I like making things, and so making something that wasn't there before, like with woodwork, is just really interesting to me. And I made some like small coffee tables for friends, and like they got it, and it was like I got like this big shot of like dopamine. I was like, whoa, that's fun. I like that. So
Mm-hmm.
the van concept was essentially I wanted to travel and be in nature and also have a little place where I could record or just write music. And so I built a little desk in there, and I mean, yeah, that was probably one of the hardest projects I've ever done in my life. And to Skylar's credit, every single time that I was like, I'm done, I'm exhausted, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm freaking out, and I don't know which way to go, she was like, calm down, it's fine. She turned into me for me, like it was weird. So it
I
was,
love that.
yeah, it was really important, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. So
I don't think that's true, but
I love that.
you got
So,
you got it.
Dalton, what is something that Skyler has done that you were really proud of her for?
A couple of different things. Her end resolve. Like, I mean, she's had so many situations where she's gone on audition after audition after audition, and she never loses any sort of enthusiasm for acting or music or any sort of situation where she's moving her career forward.
that's where my
Whether-
delusion comes in.
You have
Yeah,
to be.
You
right.
have to have it.
Especially in
You have
acting,
to be.
right? Like, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Just focus
so
delusion is all it is.
I think, yeah, I'm endlessly impressed with her bravery within the sense of like when she wants something, it doesn't matter whether or not she knows how to do it. She's gonna do it. And like that's something that I admire and I look up to, and I'm trying to cultivate honestly for myself as well. And as far as tangible things like that I'm proud of her for is like with auditioning, with acting, it can be so brutal. It's really a tough business. And I mean, despite having so many moments where like she was like, yep, I auditioned, this is my fourth callback, and I'm gonna get it, and then she wouldn't get it sometimes, or she would, and didn't matter either way, whichever way it went, she'd be like, ah, damn it, and then she'd move on to the next thing and be like, yep, keep going. He's one of the most resilient people I've ever met. So
Wow. I love that. I love that.
love you, bud.
Oh, shucks, bud.
You guys are
Yeah.
so cute. No, I mean, I think that it's so interesting. We talk a lot about the sibling dynamic as the first relationship, right, that you really have. And so it informs everything you do. So now, Skyler, you're married. We know you're married to a lovely husband. Dalton, what was it like when Skyler brought her husband into the fold? What was that
Oh my God,
relationship dynamic like?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I think he's the only man in this world that is good enough for her.
Oh,
So I genuinely, serious, because I'm very protective. I'm quiet about it, but I'm very protective. And I think, yeah, it was such a seamless transition. Like, I mean, he was accepting of me just as like I was accepting of him, and it felt very organic and it didn't feel forced at all. So that was a beautiful experience as far as like, and even now, like my relationship with him, I can go get a beer with him and it's just great and it's awesome. And I think again, he was another part of that whole my process with the van. He was like, no, let's figure it out together. And he'd be out there for 8 hours with me, just like looking at the van and like helping me out. So it was like he's just a gem. And as far as the creativity aspect of it, it was just like we added another like mind for us to kind of help figure out our creative solutions or problems. You know, like he would just be like, well, why don't you guys try this? And we'd be like, he's such a different personality coming from like a different angle of music because he doesn't really play music, but he's a huge fan. So he would sometimes like say stuff to me. I was like, oh man, I never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. So it's been great. It's been awesome.
I love that.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream of bringing a significant other in with your siblings.
Big
So
time.
Dalton, tell us a little bit, we know what Skyler does, but Dalton, tell us a little bit about your music and what you're up to.
For sure. I think it's like a mixture of like folk and singer-songwriter stuff. So similar to Skyler, but I've always been a big fan of like just the guitar and the voice and just the simplicity of it. It's just always been more as I've gotten older, like I wanted to be like a lead guitarist and it was like a solo and I'd always just like be rocking out on stage. Now I'm just like, I just want to sit in the woods and write songs. Like, I don't care what happens. Like it's one of those situations. I did a project in 2018. It was my first EP and, did some work on that and it was amazing. And I got to work with a couple of buddies of mine and they helped produce it and it was amazing. And now I think I'm just writing and trying to figure out my own voice a little bit more, which I think that never goes away. I think it's always trying to figure out who you are within the context of your writing. So I think that's really where I'm at the moment. I'm just trying to write. I've written a bunch of songs and I just haven't put anything out. And it's time. Obviously, I got to get back in the game. But yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I love that. I love that. So, Skyler, if you could give anything to Dalton in the whole world, what would you want him to have?
Like, I feel like this is like either an existential question or like
both and. It can be tangible and existential. We'd love to hear it all.
I would give him the belief that he's deserving of all the things that he wants.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Nice. Yeah. What about something tangible? What's something he's always coveted after?
I don't know. You're not big on the material.
I don't need much.
I'd say like, actually, you know what? I'd say like, speaking of man of the wood, I feel like a cabin with land near a prison stream or something. You found it. I feel like that was
I didn't even know that's what I wanted. Yeah, I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
That's what it is. I'd get him like a real nice cabin in the woods.
Yeah. I love that. That has like some good John Prine vibes there.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. The next question is going to be musical inspiration. And if you two just think about this, well, Olivia asked her next question, which is if you guys could go see any concert together, living or dead, I would be curious who that would be. Yes, Olivia's question.
Well, before we jump into that,
I needed a podcast episode where we get to talk to people about their musical influences because we never have time for that. And
we'll leave time. We'll leave time. So, Dalton, if you could give Skyler anything, what would you want to give her in the whole world?
I think, well, with her nature of just being like a kick ass, like knock down walls kind of thing, I would just want to give her the peace of knowing, like, just enjoy the process. Just enjoy it instead of because it's so easy to get caught up in the tasks of the day in that sense. And I think we talk about this all the time too, where it's just like, it feels like this whole process is supposed to be about joy. It's supposed to bring joy to you and to other people. And I think it's really, really easy to be like, no, I just got to finish this song. Fuck it. I got to finish it. And it's like, all right. Yeah, you do. That's important. But it's important to also just enjoy the ride. Yeah. I think that's something that I would want to just give her. I don't know how I would do that, but that's kind of what I was thinking. But tangible.
Shouted at her a lot. I think Melt's probably.
Yeah. I love that. Right? I love that. Okay. I love that. So, Jenny, I'm going to let you go now with your music question.
No, I have musical influences for both of you. I'm curious. I don't think we got to talk about this too much, Skyler, last time. And yes, if you guys could go see a concert together, who would you collectively go see together?
I feel like that's hard because we have different.
But I will say, Skyler showed me Jackson Browne. I mean, I would go see Jackson Browne for sure.
There you go.
Browne. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though. When you went to Taylor Swift, I was actually like, I'd go, dude. Listen, man. I'm down to listen to Sonic Youth and Bob Dylan and all these weird people, but also sometimes I'll listen to Demi Lovato. I'm like, this is a great song. I'm sorry. It's just I like that about my taste because I have a lot of friends that are they only listen to more obscure stuff and more stuff that people don't normally listen to or just not as popular. But Skyler will play me a song from I can't remember her name, but she played me this artist that's Kacey Musgraves. And I just don't really listen to her that often.
Some obscure singer.
Because I couldn't remember if I was talking about her or somebody else. Yeah. Some random lady. Who cares? No, I'm just kidding. But she showed me a song from her. It was blew my mind. She's obviously an amazing artist. And Skyler, because I always have my angle of what I look for in music. And it's great to be able to show each other that stuff. We share songs all the time. So
Yeah, we definitely do that a lot, the sharing. But as for Jackson Browne would be a fun one. I also I really want to see Elton John. I don't know if you sure.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
I would love to see Elton John.
Okay, well, if you guys get tickets, we're coming with you.
We know.
We're coming.
Definitely.
That'd be so fun.
I'm so curious. So, Skyler, who would you say your top inspiration for music is? Because you definitely have a very singer-songwriter vibe.
Honestly, I would obviously Taylor is fantastic.
Yeah.
But Kacey Musgraves is a big one for me. Also because I've actually had I can't remember if we talked about this last time, but an actual mentorship session with her.
Yeah.
And she's just the way I think even more than her music, which I absolutely love, obviously, but the way she goes about music and creating it down to making it for herself and not worrying about if it's everyone's cup of tea kind of a thing, I think is a really huge thing for me. So she's my North Star.
Yeah.
And Dalton, will say, what about you?
Hold on, wait. Before you go, Jenny, I want to say, because last time Skyler was here, we talked about Laurel Canyon. And ever since then, my day list on Spotify every morning has been Moody Laurel Canyon Spotify list. And every time I think of Skyler. So if anybody's listening that's going to make a movie about Laurel Canyon, we need to have Skyler in it because
pick me, please.
She would be the perfect person. But I was going to say, because I get Carly Simon vibes from your music, Skyler.
You know what's funny? I heard somebody else told me that. And I'd never thought about that. But somebody told me that I played at a concert at the Troubadour and they told me that. And I was like,
yeah,
I died. I was like, that's the greatest
Yeah, you give like modern.
So thank you. I'm glad to have now that I've heard it twice. I feel like I can actually take that.
Absorb
I mean, the
it.
last person I might have been like, I don't know, you're nuts, you're out of your mind, but I'll take it.
No, I'm going to manifest that for you because I think that you should be cast in that movie that
Carly Simon
I'm going to
biopic.
manifest somebody's making.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, so Dalton, so who are your top musical influences?
Let's see. Lord Huron's a big one. Bob Dylan, Lord Huron. Hosier lately has just been hitting. It's been really hitting for me. I mean, as far as like when I started writing, I was kind of in this phase of like the Allman Brothers band, and like the way that they play music and the way they shape the guitar styles is like, it's always kind of hit me, you know, and like that's a huge one for me. And me and my dad listened to Allman Brothers, and he showed me them, in fact, and like that was something that was always really important to me. I have a bit of like a musical schizophrenia, you know, like I feel like I'll like listen to a bunch of different stuff and it'll just be random. Like sometimes Demi Lovato's killing my Spotify playlist. Sometimes it's like John
I know.
Fine.
I didn't know this. I didn't. I'm learning something right now. That's great.
I can't tell you how many times I'm on the PCH. Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many times I'm on the PCH just like blasting Heartbreaker, and I'm just like crying a little bit and just like screaming it out the window, dude. I get down sometimes, you know.
Cool.
But
We're
you'll
all
have to
about
come
that.
with me sometime, Skyler.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to think of Bob Dylan, the way he writes and like the way that he shapes story and the way it's just it's like these mystical stories about like going on a road trip or leaving or like breaking up with someone. Like I just like the way that he kind of explains the world, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I always try to write like him. I'll never get there, but it's a good goal, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
Jenny's a big Bob Dylan fan.
I went to NYU because I thought maybe if I like focused hard enough, it would be 1964 and I would like get to encounter him. It didn't happen, but I have seen him live a couple of times. Have you seen him live? Like in the last? Okay. It's bizarre. It's like a truly bizarre experience. He basically plays the keyboard and acts like the audience isn't there. And then you're like, do I know any of these songs? You're like, oh no, these are his songs. he's singing them in a totally new and different way. I've never heard. Yeah.
Wow.
I saw him like maybe 2 times in the last decade. And he was only opening, like his only opening act was Mavis Stapleton. I can't remember. Yeah. Which was interesting. But he was very worthwhile to see. Like, right. Yeah. I mean, it's Bob Dylan. Check it off your list. Very exciting.
Yeah. So we're going to end on a fun note. So Skyler, if there's one food that Dalton could eat over and over again, what would he eat over and over again?
Steak.
Good one. Man of the woods.
He makes this like peppercorn steak. Every time he comes over, we'll have like a dinner with me and him and my husband, and he'll make this like amazing, beautiful peppercorn steak with this like, what is it, like rosemary, garlic butter situation.
Rosemary,
like, it's a masterpiece. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, it's good. Peppercorn.
He cooks too, ladies. Yeah.
That's right.
And Dalton, what's one food Skyler could eat over and over again?
I would say she's become like this Michelin star chef recently. Not recently, like the last few years.
No, not really.
And she'll make her own pasta, and I think it's
she talks
bourguignon.
about that on the show.
Yeah,
it's because I'm obsessed.
It's so good. It's one of the best meals I've had as far as like pasta goes. So yeah, the bourguignon, right? Is that the one, or is the mushroom risotto?
Yeah, I'll make Julia Childs. Either way. Well, yeah, I make mushroom risotto, but the beef bourguignon from Julia Child's recipe.
Yeah, I love that.
And then I'll make my own like handmade pasta, and then anything that takes a long time.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I want. It's hard
to
make her own pasta. I think you won up Julia on that one, right?
Yeah. Well, she said you can add it with pasta or potatoes and mashed potatoes, and I'm like, who wants mashed potatoes? And like, no offense to the mashed potato.
Yeah. No, pasta always. Yeah. So, Dalton, where can we find your music? Where can we follow you and hear all the good things?
For sure. Spotify. I'm on all the music things. I don't know what you call them. I can't remember the word for some reason. Platforms. Thank you very much. And just Instagram is where I post everything. So I have most of my music stuff on there. So
and it's just
Dalton Day
music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big sister energy.
Yeah.
And
what's it called?
Skyler,
this is where I get weird, man.
That's okay. You have to. That's what she was saying. You have to understand that you're worthy of promoting yourself.
It's hard.
I appreciate
It's hard.
that.
It's
hard. We could talk about that for a long time. It's tough. I know there's so much self-doubt in music, and you're kind of alone in your little cave, like creating it, and it's very hard to put it out into the world. I know. I live with it. Like, I very much understand.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna go hype you up. And Skyler, of course, just remind us again where to follow you and all the good stuff you're doing.
Yeah, Skyler Day on all the things except for TikTok, which is like Skyler Day Music or something, I think.
Okay, well, they'll find you. There's only one.
Yeah, they'll find me. Just look at Skyler Day and you'll find me.
Well, I just appreciate you guys so much, and you're both such good people. Like, you have such beautiful energies, and you're so well spoken, and just I love the respect that you have for each other. Like, it seems like you just adore each other and cherish each other, and you don't find that in all siblings. So I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that with everybody today. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. A Fresh Story podcast is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to begin again, from home items to hype team and everything in between. You can learn more and read today's show notes at afreshstory.com.
Are you a freelancer, solopreneur, writer, creative, or professional looking to achieve your goals within a supportive community? Have you found that working from home on your own gets lonely? That you're missing the accountability and community of a positive workplace environment? We understand. And we're so excited to introduce you to the Fresh Starts Collective. For just $35 per month, gain access to 6 daily offerings a week, including virtual co-working, open office hours for business coaching, accountability sessions, and networking opportunities. Enjoy expert workshops, monthly events, and an extensive content library. Connect with marketing, design, and writing professionals to brainstorm and grow together. Surround yourself with accountability, community, and growth. Elevate your journey with the Fresh Starts Collective for only $35 per month. Visit freshstartsregistry.com and join us today.